Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Headwaters Science Center stream for today. Um, just before we start, I'll just mention that we're open from 9:30 to 5 on Mondays through Saturdays. And is it 1 to 5 or 1:30 to 5?
We are 1 to 5 on Sunday.
1 to 5 on Sundays.
Lunch. That's the ticket on Sundays.
Right. So, but today, transitioning from that, we're going to be talking about paper wasps and how can we think about paper wasps in a way that kind of, how are they related to us? So if we first look at a paper wasp nest here and think about what wasps look like, this doesn't really look much like the kind of things that we do as humans. We don't really build nests necessarily like this. And one of the weird things to think about is, how does this nest get built? How do they make this nest? And the way that they do it is, and just to start off with kind of a fun story, is they chew up wood and then they come back to their colony here and they chew it up and they let it get all weird and pulpy in their guts, and then they throw it back up out onto the branch, and that's how they make this big old structure here, one by one. Usually with paper wasps, you'll have about 100 individuals per hive. It can vary up and down, but for that. But usually the hive is dominated by one queen or just a few queens. And so what that means is that if you have a hive, only one member or just a few members of that hive are reproducing and passing down their genes. So the way that they do that, the way that they maintain that, is through a process that some call eusociality. And I'll explain more what that means as we go here. But so basically, if you think about the different ways that populations of animals live, groups of animals, be it like a pack of wolves, or imagining maybe a pod of dolphins, how is it that they stay together and work together? Wolves or dolphins, they play, they fight, they establish what we call hierarchy, which is sort of a differential level of power. One wolf might be the alpha, whereas another wolf might be the omega, or however you want to put that. But essentially, it's social dominance. It's a hierarchy of social dominance is how they maintain that. But the thing is that is not completely hard and fast. It's not always completely set in stone how maybe a wolf society or a dolphin society, how it is that they hold themselves together. Maybe, a newborn pup who gets older, takes over a higher role when they were in a lower role before, or maybe a wolf gets thrown out of the pack and has to go and start their own pack or join a new pack or something like that, which are almost impossible to do for a wolf, unfortunately, but I digress. But the thing is that there is sort of variation in fighting in these pods. But then when it comes to things like wasps or bees, there is very little fighting. There is only large-scale cooperation. And this is what we call eusociality. Another way to look at it would be to imagine that when you have a group of bees or a group of wasps or a group of any kind of eusocial insect, if their actions as individuals start to seem more like the actions of cells or organs in a body all acting as a unit, in a sense, if you can view the hive as one big animal as opposed to a bunch of animals all working together, then you can say then that society or that hive is eusocial. And so some of the ways that this kind of eusociality, as I call it, is maintained is through first what we call reproductive division of labor, or essentially some people have babies and some people don't, or some bees have babies and some bees don't. And then for bees, these roles are so ingrained for them that some literally can't have babies. And the only thing that they know to do, and the only thing that they can think to do is, for example, go and search for pollen, or maybe they want to protect the hive by clustering, maybe the hive gets too cold, so they all cluster around the outside, forming like a bee wall that keeps it warm, buzzing their wings to generate heat. Or maybe, what's another way? Bees work together so some go and find the pollen, others go and collect it, others eat it and digest it and throw it back up for the babies. Another thing that's kind of gross that bees do, but pretty cool at the same time. There's all sorts of methods. Another example is, for example, termites. If we've all seen those big ant mounds in like Africa or like Australia, if you've seen pictures of those, that are tall and they're full of these kind of ant-like little bugs, and they all work together. And these are incredibly eusocial, or what would be a word, act like a big animal, even though it's full of maybe hundreds or even thousands or even tens of thousands of individual termites. They can all act together as a single big animal. And the way that they do that is in the same way, or a similar way to that wasps do it, which is a strict division of labor, a strict, and actually biologically set, or sort of their body changes to fit their role. So, for example, in termites, there's certain termites that when they're larvae, they're all the same. But then, based on the needs of their hive, as they get older and they turn into, and they become adults, they choose completely different roles. So some might choose a worker, others might choose a soldier, and this causes them to actually change size, change their teeth and their faces. So, for example, in some colonies of termites, the soldier termites, their mouths get so big and so heavy for defending the hive that they can't even feed themselves. If they didn't have their society to help them, then they would literally starve to death. They rely on workers to come and feed them so that they can take on their role of defending the hive. And so the thing that I think is interesting about all of this, all of these eusocial structures that we're talking about, is how they relate to humans. Because a lot of people like to think of humans as individuals, and in many ways we are. We have our individual wants, our desires, our needs. We have our differences in the way we think, and the way we look, and the way we act. But at the same time, we're all still members of this larger whole, this larger body. You might call it your state, you might call it your government, you might call it some might call it their religion, some might call it their work. There's all sorts of ways that we group ourselves together to work together and take on larger tasks that we couldn't deal with on our own. And so what that brings us to is, in a weird way, can we kind of imagine a human society like we imagine a wasp society? Can we imagine that as humans, we all occupy specialized roles? We all do our own thing. Maybe this person's good at driving trucks, so they get to drive across and they bring goods from here to there. Or maybe this person is good at thinking about systems, so they get to go and design the water lines. Or maybe this person likes lifting stuff and likes using their body to do mobile work, so maybe they work in like a packaging facility, or maybe they're a garbage man. And the thing that's interesting about it is that, like how in the wasp, some wasps have to go and chew up the wood and throw it up to make the house, whereas other wasps get to, you know, sit deep in the hive and get fed by the workers just so that they can have babies or whatever. And the same way our society works like that. You know, we need garbage men. We need the water workers, and without these jobs, other jobs can't happen. If we don't have water, we can't make ice, and maybe then we don't have ice at our restaurants, and these things get bigger and bigger. If we don't treat our water, then people can't drink. If they can't drink their water, they can't stay in a place. Maybe they have to move somewhere else. And so it's important to remember that every job, every place in our society is important, and everything relies on each other. And so I guess to, you know, bring it into a bigger picture, I guess I just hope that we can all remember how we benefit others and the ways that we give to others, as well as the way that we receive from others, and the way that all of this giving and receiving it all relies on each other. Everybody needs everybody, and the more that we put in and give to others, the more than we can take, and the better everybody can be off. So just kind of an interesting, maybe little intro to youth sociality. If you feel interested in this topic, I highly recommend that you look into it some yourself. It's an incredibly interesting topic. Otherwise, if you want to hear somebody talk to it about it a little more, you can come into the Science Center, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it, or any other topic that you're interested in. And again, I'll mention that our hours are 9:30 to 5 on Mondays through Saturdays, and 1 to 5 on Sundays, and we would love to see you. So thank you very much.
Hey, that was James Wood today. Thanks for tuning in to HSC 330 live show.